Okay, so I'm delighted to be joined by the Roscommon Senior Football manager, Davy Burke. Davy, we're just approaching the club finals in Roscommon, so you're probably nearly in the mode of the inter-county manager again. I suppose you probably never switch off during the club championships, but are you nearly prepping your mind to get back into training shortly, probably with the lads?
Yeah, Dara. Yeah, so we're looking forward to watching the senior and intermediate, particularly finals over the next couple of weeks. We've had a good grasp of the championship today, had a good look at it, and hopefully have unearthed a few gems, or hopefully what might turn out to be. So yeah, we're very happy with that. And yeah, I looked at mine never switches off really from it's a 12-month gig really at this stage. So probably really the only time that you're probably not fully engaged in it. And once that kind of fog lifts, then a little, you're straight back into it really. So yeah, looking forward to obviously the clubs coming to an end soon, and then us kicking in again.
Yeah, I suppose we'll touch on Roscommon in more detail later. But how have you found the year? I suppose a split season. Did you enjoy the break, the few months off? I suppose Roscommon would have finished up in June. So did you enjoy that? Maybe just that reset that you would have had afterwards.
So absolutely. It would have been my first time being involved in a split season at the county level. So I definitely did enjoy it. The first couple of weeks, as I said, were probably, it was the only real time we're completely away from it, really, because, I don't think anybody wanted to talk to me, and I didn't want to talk to anybody, Tara, to be honest with you. So that was probably where we were at there. But then I am very quickly back into the organising and the planning and meeting backroom teams, and you're always trying to look out who can you add to improve the setup and players and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, no, really do enjoy. I think the split season is good. If maybe a little bit more consideration maybe needed for the players and build in little gaps and windows for them there. But I do think we're definitely onto the right structure somewhat with this split season. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose going back to your suppose early years, I suppose it's kind of probably public enough that you had to retire at an early age, due to injury. Did it take you long even to get over that, or was your mind always just like, I want to get into something else straight away? Like, I suppose at a young age as well, being football being taken away from you, it probably wasn't easy at the time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, well, it wasn't easy because in my house it was go to work or go and play football, and there's only so much work you can enjoy. You have to have something else to do. So yeah, it was difficult early on, but my parents were both coaches and involved in the administration side. We were always going to be staying involved. So I was lucky enough to get on board on the award one and foundation level courses, different things in the GA, and kind of rattle them off young enough. So, but it would have been a big blow, would have been a bigger blow if I didn't kind of throw myself into the coaching side of things as young as I did. Yeah, but you take that away, you miss working with your friends and the crack and all that kind of stuff. You would have missed out on a lot of that stuff. But ultimately, Dara, I wouldn't be here today if I had continued on. So look, there's trade offs and all this crack.
Yeah, did it take you long from going from, I suppose, retiring from football into coaching then?
Oh no, sure. I finished up at 15, something along those lines. I got injured and I couldn't come back from it. So I no, I'd say that summer I was straight on to the first course I could find, and the following year I was straight involved in our team, our club fail, Tom GA clubs fail team. I would have been involved in the ladies section all the way up. So no. Like my first proper job, I was 19 years of age. I was managing the company senior ladies team. So like I was fairly quickly to get straight into things and get things moving. I wouldn't be known for hanging around now that either in life. I like to kind of get things done.
Yeah, is it important probably for even young coaches? I suppose everyone wants to go into maybe senior level and maybe have dream manage their club team and that, but to get the groundwork in maybe with underage teams and build your way up and I suppose learn off coaches within the club as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like you're still learning every day. And I was only giving a chat in my local club there last week to a group of 30 or 40 coaches, and I was chatting away, and just in my introduction, I was just explaining to them, like, because I think sometimes people think if you're an inter-county coach or manager or whatever you are, that you were just parachuted here and you just came out and you became one of these overnight, like, in that I was just explaining to the group that to throw up scenarios at me that they're facing or throw up whatever that they're going to, because I've been involved in underage ladies football, senior ladies football, underage men's football, senior men's football, junior B men's football, inter-county football, underage inter-county football, Sigerson football, and now on into so you live all the struggles and all the joys and all the hassle that comes with being involved in our 16 boys team in Kilbride or in Comfy or wherever. I wouldn't be a stranger to that. Where some people do think you're when you're an inter-county manager, you kind of just always being there, that kind of way. So yeah, it's very, very important. You learn off everybody, and I'd be big into that. I'd watch an under 14 team train up there, and under 10 team train. I wouldn't care. I'd get something out of it. Now it might be something that I wouldn't have done it that way. I might do it this way, or but you can always pick something up. And I would think that there's probably a little bit more of that needed in the GA, a bit more of a growth mindset and a learning kind of environment. I always try to promote that as much as I can amongst the management and the playing group.
Yeah, did you find it difficult, even those early years, maybe stamp your authority on a team, maybe just because of the age? I mean, any sort of job, sometimes when you're just maybe starting out or, early 20s, you might feel that you're a bit inferior to maybe someone more experienced alongside you. Did you ever find that?
Not particularly, no. I was lucky in that, the proper team would have taken over as County Senior Ladies now, and it would have been littered with Kildare senior lady footballers, and I would have been very, very friendly with a lot of these girls and their brothers probably. So, but there was some fearsome characters on that, but they would have brought me along with them and respected me, and we would have worked very well together and taught me. They taught me so much about managing people and understanding, what goes on in the world. And so now I was very, very lucky. No, I never really came across much of that. I never really had too much issue commanding the respect in the dressing room or whatever. I was lucky enough I had good people with me all the time as well. And it's very important when you're a young coach to have good experience people alongside you.
Yeah, I suppose maybe your first, real county job would have been with the Kildare under 20s, and you won the All Ireland with them. Like, I suppose underage football as well, maybe under 20s, is different to the the senior game. You're probably trying to nurture that talent that is going on to the next stage, and maybe you can play that bit more expansive football, maybe at an underage level as well.
Yeah, like it's definitely. Ultimately, for me, the idea or the plan behind the under-20s is to get as many senior footballers through as possible, get as many of these boys onto the senior team in a couple of years. Now, there's obviously development and conditioning and all that stuff that's required as well. But my sole goal in 2018 was to get 5 or 6 of them boys onto the senior squad the following year, and I think we got 6 or 7 of them onto it. So that was obviously a good return. And winning obviously then is great along the way, but underage football for me is more important about bringing them through and creating an environment where they get challenged, where they can express themselves, but that they enjoy as well. And I was very keen on, and I would have said this to the Kildare County Board at the time, trying to create an environment that was high performing to the best of our ability, but so when these lads land into the senior panel, they're not at sea and they're not scrambling for 6 months or a year to adjust. That's very important that they're nearly ready to go or as close as being ready to go, because you'd find an awful lot of young lads come into you and they're seeing stars for a long time because they're not fully ready, that kind of way. So that was important for me to do that with Kildare, and I think we done that very, very well. We got a lot of lads through. We ran a good show and got a lot of lads through. So we'd be happy enough with how that went. But it on your second point, and you're absolutely right. You can really let them express themselves in underage football. There's a great naivety, or whatever you want to call it, to underage football, in that there's space. You can kick the ball. When my team were gifted, Paddy Woodgates and Tony Ashballs and these lads, you let them kick the ball. They were beautiful footballers. Podge Nash, Sam Doran, with so many good footballers, that are around, that they were a pleasure to when you let them open up. At senior football, they would have been, what it is, the word, they would have been like, robots, that kind of. Whereas at underage football, you could really let them off the leash and let them express themselves, which is class. And ultimately, that's why we had a bit of success, because they were very, very talented. And when a team afforded us green grass, we could really expose them with our distribution and our kicking game. So it was great, yeah.
Yeah, because obviously you are from Kildare. Are you surprised that Kildare maybe haven't had more success really, because Kildare have nearly been matching Dublin for a good few years now, if not better, as under 20 level, minor level, like Kildare, and they won the under 20 All Ireland again this year. Like, what do you think it is? Maybe even the likes of Roscommon have a success underage as well. That's just maybe just gain that next stage. After a conveyor belt of talent, is it? It's hard probably put a finger on it, but
Yeah. Well, like how many of these, so we'll go back to my first point, how many of these guys are ready to be senior footballers? That's, that's a big part of it in any county, some Roscommon, some Kildare, some anywhere, is that, you can win in All Ireland. So Kildare won last year's under 20 All Ireland. They were in the final the previous year and they won in 2018. Like, so there's a fair chunk of lads coming. Like, you'd imagine there's a fair chunk of lads, or there should be at least, if you work off 4 or 5 per team, there should be at least 10 or 12 lads coming there. Like, so yeah, it's a different game though. Senior and underage is a completely different game. There's tactical now, there's huge, and it's a combination of all of them things. There's lifestyle choices. There's a combination of all of them. There's colleges that get in the way. There's women. There's social lives. You name it, they get in the way. That kind of way. So there's a combination of so many things that affect the transition from 20s to senior. So underage success, great. Well, it's great, and even Kildare, nice CBS there, are winning home cups now, are competing in finals of them, which is huge. So there's definitely players coming, but it's not as simple to translate it through to senior.
Yeah, moving on to Wicklow then, I suppose it was your first inter-county senior job. Yeah, you probably would have got great learnings from that before. Again, no disrespect to Wicklow, but I suppose they were operating at a Division 4 level. Then you got into Division 3. As it was a job that a lot of managers, maybe again your age, could really learn from before you step up to Division 2, Division 1 level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had a brilliant time in Wicklow for a couple of years. I think I'm on record saying I absolutely needed it to prepare me for this gig at the minute. Just you need the exposure. Well, particularly at my age, my stage of my development, I needed the exposure to the media, to the county boards, to Croke Park, just to and at that kind of level of footballer who are extremely motivated, driven, selfish. It's a different mindset these senior inter-county footballers are. And very, very important. So I got a huge grounding and a great learning ground there. But now, while we were learning, we were on the move as well. Like, we were doing okay too. So I like to think we brought lots of positives to it as well. But I would have learned a huge amount from that group as well. And even off the field, sitting like Chris O'Connor there was the administrator, secretary. She was unbelievably knowledgeable and stuff I didn't really engage in, player charters and all this different stuff that is involved that I didn't really know was involved 5 or 6 years ago, whereas now I'd have a fair handle on it. So there's loads of different things along those lines. But then on the field in Wicklow, like you're dealing with Shawnee Furlong, Rory Finn, Dean Healy, Darren Hayden, like seriously intelligent footballers, brilliant footballers, and we would have worked very, very well together in that we came up with a plan that allowed them to express themselves, and they were so smart. It just kind of clicked as well, and it was a very enjoyable 2 year. And I'd like to believe the players enjoyed it, management enjoyed it, and we got up to Division 3, retained Division 3. I think we had a good couple of years there.
Do you find it hard to get, well, I wouldn't say buy-in, but keep the players motivated? Because I suppose at that level, when there's not a lot of eyes on you, I think it was probably during COVID as well, half your time there as well. But even crowds wise, maybe at some of the league games and that, is it hard to keep players motivated and maybe keep them involved in county setups like that, where you have the lure of, say, America and travel and all that as well?
Yeah, I have to say I was lucky in that these lads don't do it because the crowds are small. You're right, the crowds are small. You get no TV coverage, you get no Sunday game coverage, you get very, very little media attention, and so very little to no social media. So yeah, if that's what they were motivated by, it would be. But my experience of the week about that, because they've never had it, really, they don't really know what they're missing out on, and they are you missing out? Who knows? There's lots of downsides to it too. So so my experience was that they weren't doing it for that, and we didn't really have any problem. I got everybody out that I wanted to. So absolutely everybody attended and trained, come on board with us. So we were delighted with that. I think if the setup is right, you'll get lads to hang around, and ultimately we all love competition. We all love group settings generally. So not we all, but majority of people enjoy group settings. The camaraderie that comes with that, the practice that comes with that, the friendships that come with that. The shared collective. All that's very, very important to people. So So I think when you have that right movement, right play, people tend to stay on board. And look, the likes of American stuff, that'll always be there. That's a lure that there's very little I can do about that. At the end of the day, you need to keep it as low as possible, obviously. But no, I didn't see it, but I can absolutely see why players don't go into Division 4 teams, and why players say, oh, I'll play rugby, I'll play soccer, I'll play hurling, I'll play whatever I'll play, rather than go out and be badly treated. But I have to say the Wicklow County Board and everybody were very, very good and treated the lads well. And that's really all you can ask for at the end of the day,
Moving on to, I suppose, the appointment when you were made Roscommon manager. Now, there was a lot of talk at the time that I was even hearing within the county that what nobody wanted the job. Like, why would people want to probably going up to Division 1 just to go back down? Like, I was scratching my head a bit, because outside of your Dublins, Kerrys, and all those counties, like, there's not many better jobs than Roscommon. A team that have been Division 1, Division 2, and still, like, not an aging team either. There's still a lot of potential in this team. So was that your mindset? I remember you did an interview off the ball, and you were excited, I suppose, to get started with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No. At the time, and still very, very excited by the gig. I think it was, as I said, I was very clear at the time about the excitement level and the interest I had in the job, and I was delighted to be appointed the manager. Probably getting near 12 months ago now, 11 and a half months ago, whatever it would have been now. So I still retain all that positivity. I've had a really, really enjoyable year. I wouldn't be listening to any type of noise from the outside about what other people think. I don't really mind too much. We know the work that we've done and we'll continue to do, So, and no, it's as you said, the age profile is good. Very positive. Retain Division 1, and look, we're definitely heading places. Yeah.
Did you even find maybe that first week in Roscommon when you were appointed, I suppose, maybe the difference in, I suppose, media attention, the just everything that comes with it? Because like, even just from being Roscommon, like, we are football mad. Like, people just love football in Roscommon, so you probably even found that straight away. People wanting a bit of you and to hear things about it.
Yeah, and that absolutely. I was taken aback by the level of interest, to be honest with you, and the level of excitement and the level of real football interest from the public was mental. And continued all year, and still to this day, it's huge interest in us and the team and the management and whoever else. So it's brilliant. But I thrive in that type of environment, because it's a pressurized environment. Ultimately, there's common people that love their football. They want the team to do well. They want the team to progress. And ultimately, I'm the manager, so the team must move forward, and it's on me to make sure it moves forward. So, but I love that type of, that would suit me far more than a team that maybe no one has any interest in, or whatever. That kind of a pressure isn't as much. So, the crowd all year, the public were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Going into the league, and then obviously you won the first 3 games. There was this narrative, maybe again a bit lazy, that Roscommon were ahead of other teams, that they had the work done and all that. But on the flip side, I say you were probably one of the last teams to go back training, if anything, I'd say.
Yeah, like, simple maths will tell you we were the last management team appointed in the country. So unless the rest of the county teams were sitting on their hands now, I just that's more like some of the analysis you'd hear around the country of, some of the media is cat, like, it's very, very lazy stuff. So we were the fittest team. We were miles ahead of everybody else, so that's why we won our first 2 games. Like, sure, couldn't be further from the truth, but sure, look, we won't let them. We won't get in the way of their stories, that kind of way. So we got back in probably mid to the end November, really. By the time trials and everything were over, it was probably end of November by the time we got any senior players back, with a couple of weeks of trials there, and from early November on. And they were very much rushed trials, and we were only pointed on I think it was the 3rd October bank holiday again, like, so it was right up to the end of October. We got trials up and running very, very quickly, and it kind of ran from there. And we were scrambling, as you can imagine, like, putting together a full new management team, trying to get a panel of 40 players or 30 players, whatever we got. And, so we done all that. And then we got training probably the end of November, probably got training. So, look, we 6 or 7 or 8 weeks, just like the rest of the country, really,
Yeah, and is that difficult in itself that you have probably a pool of players there? They're all trying to impress, and I suppose might just have to make a quicker decision maybe on a couple of lads than you would have liked, and maybe this year you'll get maybe more of a a detailed look at some of them.
Yeah, well, obviously, yeah, we'd have made, and probably we'd have make a lot of decisions last year. We would have had 70 odd lads try, let's say, last year, and that would be separate. So it would have been 10 or 15 more senior boys we would have known. It wouldn't have been part of that. Like, so you're probably looking at the guts of 90 odd players, maybe that we would have had, and as I said to someone the other day, we were shocked. The four of us were shocked by the quality of the footballer that was in front of us at the trials. Like, it was very, very impressive now. And a lot of these guys wouldn't have been, frontliners or whatever you want to call it. Like, but we were very impressed by the quality of footballer in the county. I still are very impressed by the quality of footballer. So that would have been that. And yeah, look, we made a couple of calls. Well, obviously we make a lot of calls, and we probably made a mistake or two letting the fella go. But ultimately time was against us, and we thought we were doing what we thought was right at the time, And look, we got a lot of decisions right too, but there's always the ones that would stay in your mind that you probably might let one go. But it then get to your point about this year. We watched every bit of the club championship. We've been heavily involved because I want to make sure, one, the panel I have is the strongest available panel in Roscommon, and if it's not, well, I need to make sure I make it the strong. I need to get the lads in, and I need to let go of whoever needs to let go and let in whoever needs to let in, and we like to think we've done a good bit of that. So yeah, so look, the club championship is really a huge asset. We didn't have that last year. I was out watching the club final last year, the senior final last year, and I wasn't appointed. Like, I was only part of the interview process at that stage. So like, I've between myself, Eddie, Mark, and Lara, we've watched a huge amount of football now, so we've a fair handle on it.
Yeah, before going into the National League, just want your opinion on the FBD League, because I'm presuming the games will be in the Dome again in January. I think you weren't happy with that, or it probably wasn't ideal. Now, from a weather point of view, it's lovely probably for spectators and that, everyone's nicely shielded from the elements. But I suppose to go from an indoor AstroTurf pitch to then playing end of January in the wind and the height, or maybe the pitch isn't up to full scratch just yet. Like, it is a big change to even just get used to in a competitive sense.
It's huge. It's huge. Like, there's no two ways about it. It's huge. We like the Dome, just for, I know I would have been on record last year, but the Dome is a savage facility. Like, it's a brilliant. We would have used it a good bit, but the bad winter last year, we tried as much as we could to get up there. Now it's just a fair spin from Dublin, and we have a lot of lads based on the East Coast as well. Like, so we would have used it a good bit last year because it's an excellent training facility. Like, it's class, and obviously weather's no issue, and it's brilliant. So we would have got a lot of quality coaching done in there last year. So that was very effective. But I just felt, that you're going into the first round of the National League and the muck and the dirt and the wind and the rain and in January and February, and you're playing on an artificial surface indoor. Well, it's a great game. It's more akin to basketball or, whatever it might be. Now, it's good to blow out the lungs and it's good to get your hands on the ball. And look, we'll be there. We'll be going for it. We'll be doing what we can. So, but you will see teams, managements will be trying out different lads. And there's a lot of fellas. Another thing, joints. If you have a hip injury, an knee injury, an ankle, any of your joints there, actually, you have to be very careful with lads in the likes of AstroTurf, particularly when the National League is so close. Because I do think it may all beat us in the final last year on a Friday night, and then the following Sunday was the first round of the National League. Like, so like, both teams were obviously minding a few boys that day as well.
Then going on to the league, Tyrone the first day. It's a big game in itself because it's a home game and you want to start off with a win. Like, was the emphasis on the league? Did you put much emphasis on staying up? Like, how much emphasis was put on? Because there was that mentality in Roscommon as well. There was a yo-yo team that it was up and down, and they couldn't solidify Division 1 status.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We it was one of our main targets was to retain Division 1, because the yo-yo, all the narrative that was out there and all this different stuff. So that was very, very important that we retain it, or at least attempt to retain it, and I felt we definitely made a good stab at it anyway. And but it was important that this team retain Division 1. You want to be playing the best teams every week. You want to be exposed to the level of physicality every week, the level of tactical ability every week. And the big thing then is we introduced 5 young guys into the starting team pretty much for the whole of the National League, or certainly the first half of the National League. And them boys, I'm hoping now for 2024 should be far improved players, far more experienced players on the back of the likes of Division 1. You know, that kind of way, whereas you introduce them at Division 3 or Division 2 or whatever, yes, they'll improve, but they might improve a bit quicker at the higher level. So I think we managed to balance it all up nicely in introducing them boys to top tier football while surrounding them with the experienced guys as well, you know.
Yeah, did you even feel maybe that the first 3 games that you didn't probably play as well as you could have in large spells? Probably Tyrone, some parts, Galway probably was one of those games that you just get a win and you're delighted. Probably Armagh was a good performance in general, but like to get 6 out of 6 and maybe win those games not playing at your fully best. I think that's maybe something that was brought into Roscommon this year, that we kind of ground out a few more wins than we would have previously.
Yeah, well, like that, and we ground out every performance. It's probably, if you played 14 or 15 competitive games this year, it's probably only 1 or 2 max performances we wouldn't have been that pleased with. Like, you can perform and lose. Like, you know, you can perform and come out the wrong side of a result. That's top level football. Like, we've no God given right to beat anybody. You know, that kind of way. So we'll turn up and we'll play hard and we'll play, and if we perform well, we'll be knocking on the door. If you look at it, we found a consistency level that was the most important thing, Dara. Like, every day we went out last year or this year, gone 23, we you know, I think 4 points was the biggest margin of defeat of the year, you know. So it was important that we found that, and it was very important for the players that they found it, and they did, and they trained consistently, and ultimately they played consistently. So that was a very important thing. So yeah, all of that leading together is why you're consistent on a Sunday. It's why you get a few more results on the board, because in fairness to this team, they were very good. They'd be out today and they'll beat a team by 5 or 6 or 7 points, but they might come out the next week and, you know, be a different team and lose by 5 or 6 or 7 points. Whereas I think, in fairness to the lads, they kind of wanted to find that, and they did, in fairness. But now the challenge is on them to push it on now, you know.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier in the summer as well, having, I think, was a 41 players back out on a Tuesday night for training. And I mentioned the Wicklow and the motivation. Is that even hard to even get that level of consistency when you have, I suppose you can only have a panel of 26 on the Sunday, to get, you know, your 10 or 15 lads that weren't involved to keep going, to keep training, you know, through the whole year? Like, is that hard in itself, or did you find that buy-in was there from day one?
No, it is hard. Jesus, it's always hard managing. Same in work, same in football, same at home. And people management is the hardest part of life. It's very tricky to manage people in any walk of life, particularly people who aren't playing. You know, they're disgruntled or they might be frustrated, and you want you not that you encourage it, but you'd be, you know, you'd be happy to see some frustration, because lads are trying to get into 26s, they're trying to get into teams. And, you know, if fellas in the starting team is generally okay, if fellas on the bench, he's coming on, he's generally okay. If fella's not coming on, he wants to be in the 20. If fella's not in the 26, he wants to get in the 26. You know, so there's a kind of all little internal competitions going on all the time, and little battles going on all the time. So it's up for us as a management team to identify that and give the lads clarity. I think the biggest part of it is that to speak to these lads and open communication as to, okay, you're in the 26 because of this, and you're out of the 26 because of this, and this is why you need that. Whereas maybe there's probably a little too much, not enough for that goes on, and so that's one way you can possibly make your life a little bit easier on that. But absolutely, there'd be frustrations on Tuesday night, lads coming back in. But it is top level football too now. It's top level preparation, it's top level football, and it's a ruthless game and it's a tough game. So there's a lot of lads that have to come in young and serve their time, and there's a lot of lads who are out injured, and they, you know, and everywhere else there's a lot of lads that are more suited to hard ground and soft ground, and there's all these different things, you know. So yes, it's difficult, but that's people management. That's a big part of life. Yeah.
After winning the first 3, there was then followed up by 3 defeats. But the losses to maybe Kerry and Mayo, did you even take positives from them? Because you went 7-0 down to Mayo, you went 1-3-0 down against Kerry. Like, I'm going back to the mentality again. Like, previous Roscommon teams probably would have went under there and maybe lost by, you know, 15, 20 points. Like, we have seen that. So to draw that back, you know, the Mayo game, I think, to a point, and Kerry, like, could have easily got a penalty at the end. Keane McKeown could have got one at the end there in Tralee. Like, would that even take positive from that you know, this team seems to fight till the end at least?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, even the Monaghan game, which was one of our poorer performances of the year, still was a 14-11, maybe finished, I don't know, 3-point game, something. I don't know what it was, but it finished a 3-point game. So And we didn't perform well that day at all at Clonus, and Clonus is a formidable place too. Like it's you. How often do Monaghan lose in Clonus? You know, I don't know the stats, but I have a fair idea, I'd say. So yeah, and then we rolled into Mayo, and yeah, look, we had a rough start against Mayo. If you watch both teams, I think both teams made 6 or 7 changes to the starting team that day as well. With obviously Easter Sunday was on the horizon too, so you can read into that. But no, absolutely, 7 points to nil down. The game looked over, and our lads dug in, and we probably had a few structural issues, probably the management issue as well, and we probably unsettled the side a little bit by a few little things. But all that's part and parcel of the learning of a new team as well, and a new management team, new group players, and ultimately we had a chance there at the end for a goal chance to win that game as well. So look, there was huge positives. I think I was on the radio with RTA after that, and I would say that is massive positives take out of it. Like, we had 6 points off the board early. We were fairly sure we were close enough to safety at that stage, at least minimum to safety at that, which afforded us the opportunity to see a few more lads in the league, to maybe get a little bit more work done that we missed out, that other teams would have got done earlier because we were late back. We probably took our opportunity early league then, for around 4, 5, and 6, maybe to get a bit more work done. So there's all that as well. But there's huge positive in my own Kerry game, particularly huge positives in that, both games, Intralee and a Saturday night live on telly, like absolutely the ability was there to collapse, to fall away and do whatever, would have went before. But no, that's gone now. That's not part of our psyche. That's not part of what we do here. We were going to Tralee expecting to win, in turn non-negotiable. We were going to win, and that was all we were there to do. And I like to think, look, we had a rough start. It caught us on the hop, but the learnings they got from that game, being exposed to that, like Kerry was in a must win. If they didn't win that, they were in relegation, a serious relegation battle. They came with their best 15, I think 12 of their 15 of the All-Ireland final the previous year started against us. So that's what we want to be like, and I can speak for my players. That's where we want to be like. That's the scenario we want to be. We don't want to be in dead rubbers. We don't want to be in one-sided affairs. And I only love the fact that we went 1-3 down, and then the gun was put to our head, and sure, we came out kicking, like, that kind of way we came out. We went for it, and our depth and a bit of a bench made a big difference that day. And I think Keith Doyle made a big difference off the bench that day. Keith McKeown made a big difference. Derek Craig did. So, long story short, massive positives from them a couple of games. Even the Monaghan game, like, you were right, we didn't perform. We were very poor probably over the year in that game, in that one game. And there's still positives to take out of it. Like, there's still things that we done well in it and that we learned from about the group. So you'll always, like, winning is not always that positive. Like, there's games there where we got to touch and look too, like, that kind of way. So and I wouldn't make a mistake as a manager of overlooking that, and when you win you're a hero, and when you lose you're terrible. There's a fine line somewhere there, particularly in National League now, where it's dirty, it's messy, it's windy, it's early season, there's heavy legs, there's lads carrying a bit, there's whatever going on. They're all one score games in general. If you look down to the results, there's not a huge amount in it. So very enjoyable though. It's the Division 1 league, the National Football League is class. Like, it's absolutely class.
Yeah, there seemed to be another narrative as well that no one wanted to go into the league final because obviously Roscommon and Mayo were playing the week after. Like, were you targeting internally the league final at any stage? Would it be something that you would love to be in? It seems to be the same scenario next year again, I think, depending on the draw that is the week before.
I'd never say we were targeting the league final, but if the opportunity on the final day of the season, we were playing Donegal, and if Kerry beat Galway, as far as I'm aware, if Kerry beat Galway, they would have come down to head or score difference, and then we had an opportunity to get. So like, if we were presented with the opportunity, absolutely would have went to Croke Park. Like, I was in Croke Park watching the league final, and both Galway and Mayo were very much trying to win the game now, and barring Colin Reid made some brilliant saves against Galway for Mayo, like that. Galway could have very easily won the league. So both teams were trying, just like we were finished third. We were trying, both and Kerry were trying. So we didn't set out to win Division 1, but when the opportunity to get to a final arose, we did. But ultimately, it was out of our hands. It was the result. Went other ways, So But I wouldn't believe the full narrative. I'm yet to find an inter-county manager or an inter-county player that doesn't want to win, whether it's a challenger game, a game of tiddlywinks, or whatever it might be. There's a certain cohort of people who are they're fairly driven, and I'm yet to find. It mightn't be your sole focus. You mightn't have your full plan on the field. You mightn't have everything put into it, but Jesus, you still want to win it. You know that kind of way.
Then Easter Sunday it comes, and it was probably in your mind maybe when you took the job. Like I said, the Mayo Roscommon rivalry, like you're probably up to speed with it now, but it is the big one for Roscommon fans to win that. So was that the game nearly not to peak, but you're aiming to maybe start the peak for championship Easter Sunday? That's what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So really, once we had the 6 points on the board, we could start looking further down the road. Then, so we could start looking ahead. So we were kind of fairly sure we were going to retain Division One at that stage. So could start looking and start training a bit harder and kind of looking ahead to championship at that stage. So yeah, the Easter Sunday one was always in the diary because it's such a huge game, and the Mayo Roscommon rivalry is huge, and even obviously Kevin managing Mayo now, former, he lives in Roscommon, but obviously a former Roscommon manager. It's all, and look, as I said to you about the interest, that I love these environments, like rivalries. It's a bread and butter. I love it, like absolutely love it. I embrace them. So the more rivalries, the more pressure, the more the better for me. So once we had Mayo early on in the Connacht, sure it was great. So, and it gave us a focus too. The lads were keen and we didn't feel we put our best foot forward in the league. Obviously, as we spoke, but we were down by 7 points early on and whatever else. So yeah, we put a big focus on it. Look, Mayo as well were just being crowned league champion 7 or 8 days earlier. So like you understand. Look, the split season has its cons in that regard, in that it is a bit rushed, and that's what you were saying about, did people want to be in the league final? But Mayo absolutely did want to be in the league final, just like we did. So but yeah, we were very, very happy. We targeted the game, obviously, just like they did, just like every team targets the first round of the championship. And yeah, that one came off for us that day. Yeah.
Would you think it was the most complete performance over the year? Maybe just defensively, I think it was only one or two frees given away the whole game. I think that was probably defensively, Roscommon's best performance. And even up front, it was a wet, windy day, but probably conversion rate from shots was probably quite good that day as well. It seemed like those counter-attacks, I think Jeremy Murphy got one at the end, and they kind of summed it up, that to win the ball and then run up the field and kick a great score. It kind of felt like an all-round performance that day.
It did. I know it did. It was a good performance. There was others that I thought we played well in too this year, but that was a good performance. Yeah. The lads were fully tuned. Fair play to them. They applied themselves well, and then we prepared well, and they went out and executed the plan. Look, the weather was cat. It was steam and rain, and it was a gale force wind. So it completely changed our plan. Going out on the field, we had a plan, and obviously we had to readjust. Warm up wise, we had completely adjusted the whole thing because we didn't go out in the field till about 15 minutes to go, purely based on weather wise. There was no point being out there getting soaked and lads getting, so we had to kind of adjust. Or the plan we had made for a couple of weeks was nearly half gone out the window an hour before throwing because of the conditions. But it's, as you say, same for me. But like, in fairness, in the rest of Ireland, I don't think any Mayo or Roscommon man can give out too much about rain now. They're fairly used to it at this stage. So like I as much as we want dry days and hard ground, I think, I don't think either team were that put out by West of Ireland weather in April. So yeah.
Yeah, Enda Smith that day got man of the match. Like, was he, even just touch on him, and maybe Brian Stack as well, gained nominations for All Stars, but maybe particularly Enda, like he's been nearly the go-to man for Roscommon for many years. He's probably the player that's known nationally outside of Roscommon the best. Like, to even work with him this year, he seemed to have his most consistent year, definitely in a long time. I think got 3 man of the match awards. Like, even that day, like he really dragged the team forward, from nearly linking from midfield to half forward, and then getting a point right at the end. So what was it like even to work with Enda this year?
Yeah. Jesus, Enda's a smashing fella to work with. Like, very diligent, sound fella as well. Like, he's a really decent lad. More outside of football, he's a smashing fella. He's obviously a teacher, so like, he's a good lad in general. And I like to think of a very good relationship with him, and we get on great. And we challenge each other, which I think is necessary, and any high level performer, which Enda would be, and I would like to become, should be challenged, and that's I think we bounced off each other on that front, and will continue to. And so that would be, yeah, he was a pleasure to work with, and a fella of his ability, like, you don't come across lads at that level that often. and zero ego, like full of humility, and just a really, really good fella. Trains every night of the week, turns up, does his own work, and sets the standards, and runs it, and away he goes. So yeah, couldn't ask for any more. But I would have to say Brian Stack, like very, very similar guy, quiet lead. He's a captain, quiet man, very quiet man, goes about his. But he's my type of man. He's actions rather than words type of fella. Now I love that about him. He make a full length dive and block. That's what he wants to do rather than talking shite in the dressing room. Like that's not for him. Like so that's what he is. Like he's an actions man, and ultimately that's why he has the armband, because that's what he is. He does it on the field, and the likes of him, like it's a great privilege for me to be managing lads of that caliber, and I like to think we're adding something to them, but we're definitely getting a lot off them boys too, and just huge amount more. Obviously, we're not going to go into effort, but two boys have been nominated, obviously, which is very, very. I'm delighted for them, delighted for their families, and it's important for the squad because we trained hard, we worked hard. We're gonna go back. We're gonna work hard again. We're gonna try and improve things, and the guys coming in, whoever, say the Conor Carls, the Robbie Dolans, Lara Craigs, the Ben O'Carrs, Dylan Rowans, Keith Doyles, all these chaps and more. The Owen McCormick, surely all them boys can be looking up and going, right, it is possible for us common footballers to do A, B, C, or D, that kind of way, and that's it. So it's a good start for them two boys to be recognised.
Yeah, and even touching on the goalkeeper Conor Carroll, like the role he played this year, like I mean, against Galway, I think 100% kick out success, which is that's incredible, really. Considering Galway weren't sitting off either, like they were pushing up. Do you challenge him? Because we've seen the role develop this year of him coming out and being an extra player and whatnot. Do you challenge him to do that? Is that the emphasis that's being put on, or do you just let him be a bit free as well at the same time, that if he feels something within the game to do that?
Yeah, we try let everybody. So we'd have a framework or a plan or whatever you want to call it of play, and that's our go-to plan, and then we tweak it week to week. And within that, though, I'd like to believe there's freedom for everyone to put their head up and play what they see. If you see a pass, give it. And comes off, doesn't it? If it was the right idea, you thought it was right, let's go again. So Conor would only be another one of them that's very similar, and Colin Lavin there too. But Conor was obviously got the nod this year, and he so yeah, absolutely. Look, against Galway, he's 100%. Yeah, like he's a very exciting young keeper. He's very old and talk about challenging. Like we regularly challenge each other, like on different things, and we'd all have different ideas and different, and I would have done this, and other lads might have done that, and to try come up with a nice balance in the middle. But everybody, I'd like to believe in our squad is challenged, and manager including. You should be challenged. You should be held accountable, because that's ultimately, what's necessary to improve. So yeah, Connor's just another example of another cohort of young guys that are coming through, that are learning their trade, that are doing well, but have loads to go.
Going into the group stage, then the Dublin game was the first one, and there was a bit of a break. I think maybe 5 or 6 weeks from the Galway defeat to the Dublin game. Was that a Mayo style type game for you as well? Because there was probably again this narrative of Roscommon and Croke Park that they haven't performed, that they have lost quite heavily to the likes of Dublin and Mayo in Croke Park before. And there was also the talk that Dublin weren't going to get tested in the group as well, just that kind of stuff. So was that even playing in the heads that you were going up there with a point to prove?
I didn't, to be honest with you now, I'll tell you the truth. I didn't hear the part that Dublin weren't going to be tested. I didn't hear that myself, but the bit with Roscommon not performing or not having won in Croke Park and different things like that was definitely on my mind. I know they'd won the league final there the previous year, and they beat Galway, I think, late on in the league final the previous year. I think they did in Division 2. Yeah, I think they did. So they had won there, but they hadn't won. Yes. They hadn't won a championship in a number of years. So absolutely, we again, though, it comes back to my point. Consistency is everything. Like you must turn up everywhere. You must turn up no matter where you go. And we prepared well for the Dublin game, put a plan in place. Would have watched different opposition, like would have watched Dublin's Leinster Championship in detail, and kind of seeing what teams had joy doing and what teams didn't have joy doing, and seeing where Dublin's strengths were, etc., and then put a plan in place. And we kind of got a few injuries back as well around that time, and we kind of got a decent squad put together at that stage. And look, we were disappointed ultimately. We came out with a point, probably felt we could have came away with two, but there's probably a stage later on where we could have came away with nothing as well. That kind of way. So look, at the end of the day, a point probably was an okay result, and we came out of there. And I'd probably just give us a little bit of belief. Look, we didn't finish the job. We didn't come out with 2 points. Ultimately, that's what we went there to get. But when you do put a plan together, you come out, you execute it. You can be competitive. And that's ultimately the idea is to reach a level of competition where every day we're going in feeling we have a chance to win. And I think that's ultimately what I'm here to do, is I want to win things. I want to be involved in a successful team, and I want to turn up every day and be competitive at very, very minimum with everybody. So and that's the kind of journey we're on, I suppose, and we're still in work in progress.
Yeah, I mean the big takeaway of that game was obviously the nearly the 6 minutes of possession, and I suppose you were on record at the time that there was a bit of nonsense talked about it. Like I don't think it was a Dublin style hand up to say we're holding the ball for 6 minutes. It was almost like, because I even watched back, I think the Galway the highlights that time when Galway bet Roscommon in the Connacht Championship, and the Sunday game even did a piece on Galway taking the sting out of the game and holding the ball for 2 minutes, and that was nearly applauded. It was like, what do you want Roscommon to do? Do you want them to play into Dublin's hands, and then you'd be called naive? And then if you're not naive and hold on to it, it's criticised. It was a bit kind of lazy what went on, really.
But it's just another example of lazy analysis. You can't win. You can't win no matter what you do, really, can you? If the top teams do it, it's cuteness, it's intelligence, it's tactical genius, it's whatever it is. If the boys who are kind of get up that ladder try to do it, it's they're ruining the game, and rule changes are needed, and and all mad stuff. There was a lot of lazy, silly commentary after that. So we didn't. It was funny. We found a lot of it funny, to be honest with you. We didn't. If anyone thinks we were in the hide training to hold the ball for 6 minutes, they're mad, So you play what's in front of you, just like the opposition team didn't want to engage. So what are we going to do? Run into them, that kind of way. So yeah, look, ultimately, I wouldn't be overly worried. Most teams in Division 1 play a similar brand of football, and it's just about you find your little niche, your little tweak to it. But most teams, if you look at it, are playing a very similar way now, and that one game just happened like that. But I'm not sure it'll be repeated by anybody, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but what was kind of taken out with the analysis was nearly the Jeremy Mercer 60-yard run or something up the pitch. The bravery even to write I'm going, and there was a hard drive and run, and then for Kieran to finish it over the bar. People do forget an actual score came off it. It wasn't like you were killing the clock or anything.
Yeah, and exactly, all we were doing was trying to create a scoring opportunity ultimately, and that was all it was. And if you look at when German did take it, I don't know, I think it was Brian Howard, I'm not sure who it was, he took on, and his athleticism was brilliant, wasn't it? It was a sight to behold to watch him open up, and he was the very far side of the field to me, but still, he's a sight, German, talking about consistency and talking about, men who stood up this year with, you were talking about Ender earlier, how good was German Murta for us, every day, every training session, that man turned up, and I thought his performances on the field were excellent majority of the year, and again, more to go, and that man is ambitious and he wants to push on too, and he'll need to push on with hopefully more competition coming into our team. So, but again, it was nice to see him open up. Obviously, Kieran kicked a great score, and away we went.
It was a comfortable win against Sligo. Then, late on, in the end, it was comfortable anyways. And then going on to the Kildare game, it was kind of, it was a bit of a weird feeling, because it was almost like most people probably expected Dublin to top the group, probably beat Sligo comfortably enough. So it probably wasn't going to happen that you'd end up finishing ahead of them. Was there any mindset that maybe you were just that bit off that day, that you felt a bit safe, that second or third didn't matter, or were you aiming for the game in the hide the next week for home advantage?
No, I'd say you'd always aim for home advantage. Again, we were shooting for top place, obviously. You never know what happened with Dublin and Sligo. Sligo are not a bad side at all. I think Tony McEntee's made big grounds or big strides with them. So we took them very, very seriously. And as you've seen, it took the full 70 odd minutes to really, really, to win that game in the Hyde. But we wanted to play in the Hyde. We wanted to be in the Hyde in the All Ireland series, and ultimately, obviously, against Kildare, that didn't go our way, so we ended up away. Which ultimately, when you lose a game by a point, home advantage is huge. Could that have been a 1 point swing the other way in the Hyde? Possibly not. But you'd like to imagine it might have been. So between the travel, the overnight stay, the million things, big Cork crowd, huge Cork. You have all these different things. So it's ultimately like that. But yeah, the Kildare performance was disappointing. It would have been one of our very few, as I said, poor performances of the year. But at top level football, you don't turn up, you'll be beaten. And not that we didn't turn up, but if you're not on it every single day, you run the risk, and that's it ultimately. Look at Kildare, look at Monaghan, where they went semi-final of All Ireland, were level or very close to Dublin after 60 minutes, give or take, we'll say. Kildare probably feel like they should have beaten Monaghan in the last 12 games in Tullamore. They hit the other side of the bar. The Ben McCormack go off injured. So there's loads of different things. Like if you look at the trajectory of all these teams, there's not a huge amount in it now. Between all these different teams. And that's probably the good thing about it all. There's not a huge amount in it, and I think home advantage probably would help you certainly swing one or two of them results in your favour.
Yeah, because you mentioned the Cork game, and I suppose you did say, like, even just having to go down the night before, I suppose if it was at the Hyde, the lads could stay at home and all that. Just those kind of little things, and even from being at the game, like there was a massive Cork crowd there, and it did feel like it actually made a difference. That Cork team that probably hadn't got support. For a good while, Cork have been, their fans probably neglected them. So it probably did actually, in the end, home advantage does count for something.
I think their hurler's been knocked out early this year. I think the footballers got far bigger support off the back of it. And I have no believing two things. The Friday night, like a lot of our games will be Sundays or Saturday evenings, whereas this was an early. I can't remember. It was a 2 or 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
I said 2 o'clock throw. So that's an early game on a Saturday. You had very few of them games, throughout the year. So lads would have went to work Friday morning and would have been on a bus at say 3 or 4 o'clock Friday evening to go to Cork with us. So it's no matter what we dress it up, it's not ideal preparation, but it is what it is. So we obviously stayed over and did our preparation and ready to go into Páirc Uí Chaoimh, which is a magnificent stadium. In fairness, pitch is unbelievable. It's a phenomenal place, even dressing rooms and media facilities, everything. It really is a quality stadium. So there's no doubt the big crowd influenced the game. I thought we were in complete control of the game early on, and obviously things turned against us a little bit. And again, that's areas we need to improve on. There's a number of areas that we need to improve on. But then again, our depth showed, and we kicked 5 or 6 points unanswered, then got back into it, and we were in a winning position then to go on and win the game. And ultimately, we didn't. We made a mistake, but I do believe. The crowd made a huge difference with a couple of calls later on, like the massive Cork crowd where it was big roars. Now, as much as roars as I'd hear most of the year now, that the Rebels were giving it there for that 15 minutes or so. And fair play to them. Sure, that's it, isn't it? Cork ended up beating Mayo the previous week to go finish second, and we lost to Kildare. We finished third, and sure, like such is life, like that kind of way. And so home advantage absolutely counts. You look at the National League this year for 2023 or 2024, whatever year you want to look at it. Watch the teams who have 4 home games and the teams who have 3 home games, and watch the difference in finishing positions in the league. And yourself, like home advantage in the GAA between helps your players, helps your team. There's familiarity. Obviously, can upset the opposition a small bit, and then officials come in as well. Like so, there's a huge different thing in it. So that was that. Ultimately, it was a disappointing end. We felt we were going up the field to. And we're quite good at it. I think we had 16 points maybe on the board, 17 points on the board, I'd say, something along those lines. And we were going up to create a scoring opportunity to ultimately win the game. And a minute or so into this injury time, look, it didn't come off for us. So plenty to mull over there was.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying it was the plan or that, but it felt like, again, they were probably trying to work the score, but was the idea to maybe hold the ball till maybe, I think there was a 4 minutes added on, maybe to 73-30 or something, and then go for the point? Or was it just they were just trying to work the score? Was that into it at all?
Well, combination of both. You're not going to turn down a score now either. That kind of way if one presents itself, but a combination of both. Yeah, you can rush into it there. And I think it was about 70, I can't remember, it was 71 and a half maybe or something. And and there's probably 2 odd minutes left, and you'd only love now to win a free after another minute, and and it takes a minute to kick it and whatever else. So then the game is practically up. If you look at our result against Kildare, the mark was one in the far corner, and I think it took a minute to kick the mark for whatever reason that happened. I don't know, but and then kick out, game over. That kind of way. So there's game management or whatever you want to call it. So it's probably an element of a way to score an opportunity. Cork had a very, very good defence. They 15 behind the ball. You go running in there, you're probably going to get turned over if you haven't done your work to try moving around. So probably a combination of both, Dara. Really, we were trying to create a scoring chance and trying not to leave Cork with too much time to hurt you with, that kind of way.
Yeah, it was probably, again, disappointing because Conor Daly had a great year as well, but I suppose that he had possession of the ball. Like, it wasn't really even a turnover, and probably, again, from being there, I think maybe just if that was in the Hyde, I don't think that call would have been given. So it's probably one of those, there again, just that home advantage. It was just showing there that it probably just counts for maybe that 5% or so.
Yeah, and no doubt, yeah, it was a massive roar from the Cork crowd. Would it, if they didn't, would it have been given, was Paul Geaney's goal in the All-Ireland final that much different? That kind of way, I'm not sure. So look, it is what it is, but there's no doubt, home advantage matters, lads. It matters. Crowd matters, players are human, managers are human, officials are human, we're all human, at the end of the day. So, it all matters. So, but yeah, I wouldn't even want to get into Connor's. We had numerous chances and numerous little bits and pieces there throughout the game. So yeah.
Is that the next step maybe for the team to win a real tight knockout game like that? Because I suppose the year before it was the Clare defeat, and it was kind of roles reversed, that Roscommon were 5 points up and Clare came back and they kicked the score, whereas I suppose this year it was Roscommon were five or six down, they got back, but Cork got the score at the end. Is that the next step? Maybe just win one of those tight knockout games?
Well, yeah, it is and it isn't. The next step is to push on. Why did these lads haven't got to play in Croke Park enough? They haven't been in enough big games, and that, I wouldn't pin it down to you must win a tight game. Just we need to continue our consistency. We start winning more games, big games, small games. There is no small game. They're all big games. From the last week of January, there'll be 6, 7 to 10,000 people at every National League game. There's no such thing as a small game in Division 1. So win as many games as we can, prepare well, and try push this thing on, and across the board. I wouldn't pin it down to winning any one particular or anything like that, but we need to keep the train moving forward. That's what we need to do. And fairness to the lads from my brief chats with them today, that's where we it's a collective. We want to go there,
Yeah, I suppose nearly to wrap up, is the emphasis going to be any different next year? I suppose having not a trial run, but that kind of style at this new format, with the group stage and then going into the All-Ireland series, that maybe if teams weren't fully on it in the group, as we said, even the home advantage in that there will be next year, because there is that bit of jeopardy. Even Galway Mayo, that last day of the group, they ended up meeting each other, and one, Roscommon and Galway were gone by the quarterfinals, which didn't seem likely the week before.
No, if you look at Division 1, first, second, and third were all gone within 7 days of each other. We saw ourselves in Galway were gone within 24 hours, and then Mayo were gone 7 days later. So that didn't count for an awful lot, that kind of way. So the group stages of the All-Ireland series are serious. Now, if you look at Westmeath, we're within a whisker and knocking Tyrone out. Also, Westmeath very hard done by against Armagh. It was a late goal that might have separated them. You look at Cork beating Mayo. You look at Kildare beating us. There's just, every game is a. But again, this is the style. Was it not this Champions League format or whatever everyone was calling it? This is what we wanted. We wanted the 16 best teams in the country against each other, and ultimately there's no hiding place any given day. It's you get any of them teams, look at our group of Dublin, Sligo, ourselves, and Kildare. Kildare and Roscommon. And if you look back through it, I'm sure there hasn't been a huge amount in it. And any given day they've played over the years. Obviously Dublin are Dublin, and then Sligo are are really improved side, like really improved Division 3, Division 4 side who probably have eyes on Division 3. Like so like they're there's nothing easy handed out, and then ultimately we got Cork and our year is over. So if any manager thinks he can go into, like, look at Mayo management, I'm sure they have the same thoughts. Galway manager missed out in top spot by losing to Armagh and Carrick and Shannon. All these different things added together. You can bet your bottom dollar now that most teams will be ready to go for mid-May next year, because that's ultimately, you get one step wrong there, it could dictate the rest of your year,
Just going back to the club championship, and I suppose next year for the squad, there were a couple of players that weren't available this year, the likes of Alton Harney, Ronan Daly as well. Just to name a couple, are the likes of them committing next year? Have you been speaking to them at all?
Yeah, I'd be hopeful. Yeah, I've brief chats. I'd be hopeful that neither of them are in the country. So I know Ronan was around the weekend, but he's gone again. So I have a brief chat. I'd be hopeful. I'd be very hopeful now. Like it's in Roscommon Senior Football Panel is a place people want to be right now. So I don't see any reason why the best available players wouldn't come forward, because it's a team going place. It's an enjoyable setup, and so yeah, I'd be hopeful a lot more. I'd like to Andy Glennon hopefully back in as well, and a lot of good young youth coming in. And yeah, we'd be hopeful now that we've good strong panel put together in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I suppose even one like even Cathal Heenan was unavailable this year. Like he made a stamp the year before, like even getting the likes of him back in. And I suppose Tiger Rourke as well was vice captain. So to miss him for the championship, like he would have been a big loss as well, even just his presence around the middle. Like I think he was playing his best football as well in the league I've seen for a while.
Tig was a massive player for us, complimented us as well. Just Tig's massive player, massive leader, vice captain. Again, not that dissimilar to our captain. Real man, just goes about his business, just puts the head down and does his own job and doesn't want any thanks for it, and just goes about it. Real good fella, Tiger Rourke is. And yeah, we missed him. Very innocuous. Obviously done his Achilles against Donegal. Sure, Jesus, like there's nothing we could do to prevent that, and it was very unfortunate for him. Ultimately, that's him out for up to 9 months anyway. But he's making massive strides, and very diligent fella. Like even in his professional life, you'll see him there. He's a very diligent fella, and he stuck to his guns, and he's doing his rehab, and he's making good ground. He still has a journey to go, but he's making good ground. And Tiger, touch wood, will be featuring prominently for us, we'd hope, this year anyway. And just getting back to Carl, like Carl's gone through an awful time, that young fella. He had an awful injury before my time. I think it was taking a penalty maybe for the club. I can't remember what it definitely was, but very, very badly hurt, and missed more than a year, maybe 12 or 13, 14 months. So, and he came in, he was with us every night last year. He commuted up from Galway, he was in college, and done his rehab with the physio and the medical team, and a brilliant fella, like a really, really good fella. And I'm sure he's only mad for road. I could see him, he was on the sideline with NUIG, the Secret team, couldn't play for them, couldn't play for us. He was with Glavies all summer, only got 10 minutes at the end of their year. So, like, what a prospect that fella is. So we're going to mind him now as much as we can, because ultimately he needs to softly approach that fella for a while, just to get him fully up to speed, and but he's a massive prospect for Roscommon, massive prospect.
Yeah, just to touch on even last year's squad, is there anyone that has opted out or going travelling or anything from last year's from last year's squad?
Not as far as I know yet. There will be some turnover in the squad. I'm yet to confirm anybody who's left the squad yet, but yeah, there will be some turnover. There's new additions, and there's guys leaving the squad, whether that's travelling or different reasons. But we're yet to confirm. As of today, I know of nobody leaving the squad as of today. But there will be, as I said, the next couple of weeks will be, once the club championship's out of the way, really is, then you can nail the squad, or at least the provisional squad, But no, as of now, I don't know of anyone.
Yeah, last one, the club championship, as we started with. Has there been any players, I suppose, even like I suppose Bridget's are the team that probably everyone's looking at the moment, that you're seeing certain players that are catching your eye or anything, over the senior and intermediate championships?
Oh yeah, geez, yeah. As I said to you, I think we've added maybe 10 players, or we will have added maybe 10 players, and there's still a couple of more slots open as well. So yeah, no, the championship's been very, very good. As I said, it's a high caliber of quality footballer in Roscommon, and we've seen a lot of them. As I said, we've gone to intermediate senior games, a hell of a lot of them, and I would be very, very impressed. We would have added a good few. I'm not going to go through names. We would have added a good few in so far. All will be released in the next couple of weeks, but yeah, we and more like the Bridgets, the Boyles, the Pierces, all these clubs are serious. Like they're serious, and the Gailey, they're serious clubs. Like real top clubs that you'd imagine any of them clubs would be as good as what's out there. In the club scene. And but there's a lot of, and they would have a chunk of our panel, belonging to them 3 or 4 clubs, would say. But there's a lot of quality footballers around the county, and we don't mind dropping intermediate. We don't mind. We'll go anywhere if you're good enough. You can play, So we've seen a good few lads come through intermediate ranks, different senior teams, not just the semi-finalists or finalists, different senior teams. And we'd be very happy that there's going to be a new look to our squad this year for 2024, which is very important. I think freshness and enthusiasm and energy is very, very important from the management side as well. And we've obviously a new selector coach on board in Lar Wall, which I think is going to be a huge addition to us. Real good guy, Lar, and also some new players. So I'd gel it all together, and hopefully things are looking good.
Brilliant, Davy. Thanks very much for your time. Best of luck next year. Hopefully more successful than last year. Maybe a trophy in the bag as well.
That's all. Cheers, Darren. No bother.